5. So 2 incredibly close games that they've had on Bank to kickstart what has been a new addition to the competitive map pool. But let's get underway here. ORTHROS GRIT, this is their map pick. They should be feeling comfortable now. We'll have a look what kind of bans they decide to lean into against FAV Gaming.
Jackal off the board first here from ORTHROS GRIT. An operator that's very potent, particularly on the roam clear. Able to quickly gain ground, make sure top floor and mid floor clear, particularly for basement attacks. So nothing standing out necessarily in that first ban as being too out of place. One thing though that has definitely been a trend here in the Japan Championship is bans that we otherwise may not expect. I guess Ying maybe is a little bit wild, but something we have seen previously and typically is a little bit of a target ban. FAV not wanting to deal with that first up. I often see Ying as a little bit of a defensive ban, as if you're trying to counter your opponent. So I don't know if that is a sign of good preparation for FAV or maybe a lack of confidence. Could be a bit of both, but either way, that's what we'll see taken down. Defensively, Kaid, pretty expected here on such a hatch-heavy map.
Final ban to take place will be ORTHROS's choice. Now, probably thinking about a Val, Chimera, sometime Intel denial, especially when you start to consider the likes of basement. Can be quite impactful in those later parts of the round, especially if FAV are not doing their due diligence. And there you go, it is going to be Valve that gets taken out. As the final piece of the puzzle here before we get underway with Bank. Now, FAV starting out on the attack. It's going to be their choice. It's going to be their decision. Will they set the pace? Will they set the tone of this match early on? Is it going to be fast? Is the tempo going to be high like we saw from so many of our games yesterday? Or are they going to lean into this a little bit? Are they going to bring some of that APAC North play style and maybe slow things down a bit more here against ORTHROS GRIT?
Well, in terms of operator composition for the first round, pretty interesting actually. Going to be a 6-pick off the Thatcher on to Zofia. And I mean, Thatcher's not really necessary at the moment. Kaid not available, and I believe it's a basement defense, so should be pretty easy to open those hatches with Thermite and his exothermic charges. Zero is an operator that's seen a little bit of play here in the Japan Championship thus far. A good alternative sometimes to the flank push, but it looks like FAV Gaming instead opting to use it in combination with the Nomad. So any sort of rotations here, or maybe even an extension from ORTHROS GRIT, and their operator selection would suggest they're probably going to go for that with the Mute Muslim Castle. Could be quite challenging. So I think FAV have opted for a really potent lineup here for their first attack. And now it really comes down to that storyline as you were mentioning before, right? What's their pacing going to be like? What's the tempo? How aggressive are they going to be on this roam clear? And how quickly are they able to actually gain this map control, right? Because it's all well and good to have the operators to pull off roam clears, but if you don't have the macro and the micro to actually achieve that, then it's really all for nothing. So keen to see how this first round plays out. ORTHROS GRIT, I'm loving the confidence. Our basement defense first with a pretty extensive sweep across the map here. So pretty high risk, high reward on a map like Bank, which is so large, but could pay off and get a first round on the board.
One thing I'll look to is what the vertical game is like. You know, what are we seeing from FAV? Are we going to see a lot of those early repels in? They're going to take square control incredibly quickly. There is only a player all the way over at Kent, I believe that is. Taipon ensuring that if anyone tries to rotate down blue, we'll be able to catch that out. For all intents and purposes, they've got to be careful. Nice early fade away, but he's got to be careful at the moment. Does he get caught on the rotate back? No. No one's there to punish just yet.
Good pacing so far here from FAV. Top floor control with a minute into the round. And I think if they can get the mid-floor control with maybe 1 more minute left in the action phase, they should be in a decent spot to be able to attempt the plant. Again, the denial here from ORTHROS GRIT is a little bit limited. They do have the Echo to lean into, but there's no smoke or Tachanka like you may typically see here on basement. So I think FAV so far doing a decent job, but that time seems to be on fast forward sometimes over the course of, you know, this little monologue. Another 30 seconds has already gone past, and FAV, they are slowly progressing though through towers. The next objective though is to try and get in towards open area.
Really nice use of the Argus cam there. Typhon's got to be careful. It baits in Shin for the free kill, though. That opens up the bank account here. Again, though, look at the time. It's already significantly dwindled, but that's what we needed to see from FAV. 2 opening picks, and now Orthros are forced to intentionally fall back to site. I hope he... No choice to fall back. It's a do-or-die position here. Back up against the wall, he's got to fight out.
What can he achieve from this position? Choppy, oh, gets the kill, but immediately traded there. Leaves it in a 4 versus 2. Vivort over towards top blue, seeing what he can see, but it's not all that much. FAV Gaming doing a good job clearing this roam, but time, could it be an issue? I don't think it will be, but they need to make sure this executes tidy.
Last thing they want to do as well is have to worry about those yokais. So if they can get in early and spot them, they can force out the yokais. Oh, V-Ball, if you can find this kill, this would be actually quite devastating for FAV. It'd be the blue control gone, number 2. Just holding on. Legator for FAV, looking to be that spearhead, forcing his way in now. They've got control of the site. Number 2 goes down. Siru holds. Legator trying to stick that kit. Is there any denial whatsoever? It's just going to be the 2 versus 2 now. 40 seconds on the clock here. Orthros need to get a move on.
Can they hold on in the post plant though? Both attackers stuck in awkward positions. Vivort trying to get aggressive, finds one through red. Gets taken down. No, he doesn't. It's actually the opponent there. A good retake there from the defense. Well played in round number 1 for ORTHROS GRIT.
Not going to lie, a little bit hard to see what was going on there. That felt really disjointed from myself.
Yeah, I got disorientated, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, trying to figure out where FAV were coming from in the original kind of push there. I think they must have come down either main stairs or into a hatch. I believe it was main stairs that kind of allowed them straight into the B chassis there. Regardless now, ORTHROS GRIT, a 2 versus 4, I think that was. That's not something you want to see from FAV. And we didn't even need to see the yokais have their full effect. We didn't even need to see the plant denial. They just went for the pure 2v2 after finding a quick pick as well on number 2. Now we do go to the top floor. We will test FAV's durability here on Bank. What are their results showing us? Are they going to be consistent here, or ORTHROS GRIT going to throw a bit of a spanner in the work?
Yeah, I will say though, despite FAV kind of capitulating a little bit there in the final stages of that round, relying on 2v4s on a consistent basis isn't really going to produce, long-term success, right? So yes, good to get that first one over the board, but it was really FAV losing that round. I think they got a little bit lost in their own execute there at the end, throwing picks away, and the remaining defenders that were alive weren't necessarily in the best power positions anyway to actually deny plant and find kills. So it was a bit strange to see them actually win out that round, and no doubt, as we sort of mentioned a little bit, it was confusing enough for us from the spectator point of view, never mind actually being one of the players inside of the server itself. But we do head up back above. Going to be a bit more of a traditional site hold here from Orthros. FAV won't need to worry as much in terms of, clearing the map, getting control. But there is a distinct choice that they need to make here, right? Do they go for square? Do they try and get control into its CEO and go for the plant behind the desk? Or do they go for lobby? There has been a trend towards lobby takes a little bit recently in the current meta and has been finding success, but based on the early positioning here from FAV, it looks like top square over towards the east is going to be the play.
Ace to wither away with the... not again. Not again for Orthros. Can't find any kind of space to move in these early rounds. We're down early here. And no response either. No one in a position to find a quick trade.
Attackers have located
They've been forced to... Hang on, where was that from? Was that out on the rappel? It was straight through to Janitor. That is feels bad and a half.
I don't mind this arena setup though that Siru has already established. So I mean, maybe his mark in this round won't be felt necessarily in the frag department, but the util, those Slayer gates being positioned in unique spots that I haven't seen before. One protecting Jan, the other the line of sight in towards top square to make that push a little bit more challenging and potentially able to burn some additional utility. Afro though from FAV Gaming, really good intel being established here with those Argus cameras alongside drones. Elsewhere, Vivort does find a pick back, and that is Shin taken down. That leaves one hard breach available here for the attack.
The Samcams already have shown quite a huge effect, guys. Really liking the zero plate. Not only that, you've still got the 2 hard breaching devices that can help. Obviously, this site might not really be fully needed when you've still got the thermite up and ready to blow a huge hole in the wall. But on the rappel right now, 2 players from FAV trying to find an opening here. Afro getting the intel, but it's all good and well to have intel. You have to be able to execute on it. You have to be able to capitalize on it. And you can see now, they're still not sure. There could be a flank coming in, but V-Bort finds the pick on a number 2. Things not going well at all here for FAV now.
Yeah, it feels like FAV is sort of sitting and waiting to maybe find a kill that opens up the round for them, but it's not really going to be the case. Afro tries to push up, but yeah, immediately shut down there. Not much he could really do from that position, unfortunately, as Mal was ready and waiting. Now type on Lugator in the 2 versus 4 from this point onwards. I don't think it's possible, but FAV have brought back similar rounds. We saw it last time.
15 seconds remaining.
Opening pick goes the way of Lou. Now he's got a little bit more aggressive. QO trying to find the kill. The trade comes back. Type on. Now pushing around the backside of Banana. Not enough time. And nowhere near the clutch. Another great round from ORTHROS GRIT. First one, clutch. Second one, clinical trades coming in the mid-round. The mid portion, the phase 2 is successful for them.
Yeah, I misspoke a little bit there. I said FAV have brought back similar rounds. That was, of course, ORTHROS in the first round to bring back the 2v4. Yeah, not to be there, though. The attack was a little bit strange, I think, from FAV. I think they just had too many ideas on how they wanted to approach the site, and they kind of split their resources accordingly. Now, sometimes multi-angled attacks on top floor can work out, but your timing needs to be on like absolutely spot on, and you need to have the information as to where these defenders are. It felt like FAV, for the most part, were kind of entering a little bit blind there. Over towards lobby and square, they looked uncomfortable as well. So I think going forward on top floor, they need to commit their resources to one particular push, or at the very least, better support those that are pushing elsewhere. Because ORTHROS were just ready and waiting, and probably just farm them. Honestly, they were just sitting there waiting. They didn't really have to do a whole lot on their end, except be patient and not throw away their lives.
FAV tactical timeout early on in the piece here, and I guess it's really important for FAV that they don't let this kind of get out of control.
This is a really early tactic, though.
Yeah, it's so early. So early. Clearly,
I guess it's better to be cautious. Better to be cautious, right, than regret it later. But at the same time, it does at least give off the impression that they're not feeling very confident at the moment. But I don't know. It could pay off if they're able to get this round back. Then it's really important. And I guess they are sort of highlighting the importance of that 3rd round. If you are yet to get an attacking win on the board, that 3rd round is always so critical. We call it the Around the World Tour over here. Because if ORTHROS do win this site, then it's really difficult to see an opening for FAV. Of course, the sites are on 3-round rotations, meaning that if ORTHROS GRIT do win this particular objective, or even just after this round, either way, they can start rotating back towards the sites that they've already found success on. So it's critical here for FAV to at least get something on the board, build a bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence heading into those more difficult sites that are going to be coming up after open area.
Opportunity for FAV. Open that bank account. It's important. It really is an important first step here. Because ORTHROS GRIT, they go around the world. You start to get a little bit worried. You start to think, to go back to basement. Regardless of whether that was a 2v4 in that first round, I think that was also leaning into ORTHROS' playstyle of being super aggressive and more than happy to take those opening engagements. We saw the kind of extension that they had with the castle. Nice little note to make as well. Castle's making a reappearance for the 3rd time already on bank. Starting to become a staple on these defenses, especially now that there's 4 barricades, not just 3. Gives you a lot more versatility in how you decide to approach a round on the defense. And FAV, they've got their work cut out for them here. ORTHROS GRIT have turned up the plate. Really, the ball's in their court.
Afro just looking to hold the lobby rappel here. Good position to cut off any potential rotations, particularly from the top floor, but I don't really think that ORTHROS GRIT are holding above all that aggressively. Now that's obviously great for FAV, particularly Taipon, he'll be able to get in and start working vert. But again, with that castle in play and the horizontal extension, no one's probably really going to be sitting on site, or at least in particularly vulnerable positions, meaning that, yes, sure, the sledge is great, can find lines of sight, but it's probably unlikely that it's going to net all that much in terms of kills. Yes, it can displace defenders, and that's great, but FAV will need to position themselves nicely to actually prevent these rotations. Square, I think, is going to probably be a key position as well, if the likes of the Vigil want to be able to get out. But it looks like, for the most part, ORTHROS, they're playing aggressive in terms of their positions, but they're also not throwing away their lives in the sense that they're wanting to take on every single gunfight possible. They're playing in quite a controlled manner, and it will serve them well after off the board.
Oh, Shin does find a quick trade, though, and that's really important for FAV. Last time it's gone unanswered. This time they've found it immediately. And now Vport, my God, Vport is an absolute animal. 6 kills in as little as 3 rounds. What has happened there? Shin was not expecting the jump through the hatch. The Oryx showing its class. Taipon now, perfectly timed flash. That's the kind of teamwork we know from FAV and we need from FAV at this point. But they've got no intel on where this Oryx is playing. You can see him just dashing away as ORTHROS GRIT sit back a little bit deeper on site now.
Diffuser down, Taipon needs to head down Banana to collect that, tuck it under his arm. 30 seconds now left on the board, number 2 alongside to try and assist. Taipon does have a couple of grenades to work with, but I don't think it's really going to be enough. Both of these attackers forced through towers, and they're probably about to get mowed down.
Oh, that's 100% on the mark there. Number 2 is next up on the chopping block. The Oryx plays into perfect effect there. And ORTHROS GRIT, 3 on the trot. And what's really important here, guys, is directly after the tack timeout for FAV, they get taken to town. 3 players left alive for ORTHROS GRIT, and it looked so convincing. A site that sees a huge amount of varied success. I mean, I'm sure the stats probably start to lean into that a little bit more as we see Bank played more and more, but it was never a site that was, you know, it was never a sure thing. It wasn't kind of like your CEO or your basement, your server, if to say. Kind of had a bit of a better shot there. Opens a bit of a different beast. And the fact that they've taken it so convincingly, sure, the alarm bells are starting to ring for FAV too.
Yeah, this has been a little bit concerning, I think, for FAV so far. Unable to get one of the first 3 rounds, meaning that ORTHROS GRIT are perfectly positioned to have a quite a dominant first half here. Now I'm just going to have a quick look in terms of map stats in Japan League and try and get a better baseline as to what to expect here on Bank. It was only played 2 times, okay, so it's not really going to give us much. 27 rounds, 63 defender win rate, 63% defensive win rate. So you would expect, again, probably a 4-2 pass rate here for ORTHROS, like most maps. FAV need to dig deep now. They don't have a tactical timeout to lean into anymore, and they're getting dominated at the moment for the most part. These have been genuinely pretty one-sided affairs. FAV, they're doing an okay job of getting map control. I don't think that's really their issue at the moment. They're getting control elsewhere around the side. It's just coming down to them not finding critical picks and trading out when they're transitioning from that control over towards site. They're just, I don't know if it's a lack of information or necessarily what's leading to these issues, but they don't seem to have a very good read on what ORTHROS GRIT are doing on the site itself, and it is obviously proving quite costly.
Tidying things up here for FAV. If they don't manage to do so, they are going to be in dire straits, no doubt about it. Now, we did see a couple of 5-1 results yesterday in the Guts gaming department. However, you know, it was a little bit too early to call, all things considered, because the 5-1 first half ended up going 5-1 second half as well. We went to OT, and the same thing kind of happened when we went to Bank. It was a 5-1 half. Unfortunately, the team just couldn't close it out to take us to OT, but even that was still a close enough game. How's the timing on that C4? Absolutely pinpoint perfect. Shin taken down without a note, without a clue. And now, FAV once more have lost that opening pick.
Yeah, and again, it's one of the hard breaches, so that puts a lot more pressure on Lugator to make sure he uses his util effectively. And with this extension and hatches being reinforced offside. He needs to make a conscious decision as to where he uses his exothermic charges. Now he's using one currently elsewhere. Not particularly sure where that was. Sounds like it may have been stock hatch. But either way, I don't think open area is being held here any longer by the defense. Actually, no, maybe it is. So I correct myself there. Number 2, though, is just going to completely walk straight past any of that extension over towards main stairs. Might try and go for a play. Afro elsewhere does drop a Stroller, who had already used his C4 to pick up that opening kill. So things have been neutralized a little bit here, but in terms of, a like-for-like utility trade, I still think ORTHROS GRIT are on top.
QO, got to be careful here. 2 players decide to tag team. It's Luke Gator that ends up finding the kill. That's what we needed to see, though. Good things coming too for FAV. And right now, that double pick has opened up the round significantly so. Luke Gator now continuing to open things up as expected. This backside take from Hatches has become vitally important as a part of the attack. You can no longer just go for a one-pronged attack.
25 seconds left. FAV do have the man advantage, but time now against them. Bvort ready and waiting over towards Elevator to prevent this push from coming through. Number 2 taken low as well, as Garage control is still in the hands of ORTHROS GRIT, and that is the diffuser down.
That's the kit, and it's deadly now because you've got 2 players coming from main stairs. You've got one coming from Garage. As long as they can hold on, my God. FAV, they're getting punished every which way you look. ORTHROS GRIT, 4 rounds straight. This is looking so dire here on bank.
The more I watch here from FAV, I think it's just their fundamental macro game plan here. I don't really understand on a basement attack sending it your diffuser in the hands of a solo player in Elevator. That was one mistake, and then everyone else filtering down through main stairs without Garage control, without much pressure from Hatches. Yes, Gold and Vault, you can isolate those remaining defenders, but you also need to be able to cut them off and trade them, which they just didn't. So fundamentally, FAV, I just think their game plan at the moment is really, really flawed. But we have to give props to ORTHROS Fang. It doesn't feel like, honestly, they're doing that much special. Yes, they are extending, they are wasting a bit of time, a bit of utility, a great opening C4 there from Ace Roller. But outside of that, they are just playing solid Siege. They're not doing anything that exposes them to more risk than they already need to be. So I think they're just playing the percentages really, really well. And considering that this isn't even their map pick, it is their map pick. So considering it is their map pick, it is very much a good sign for them, but I didn't expect it to be near as confident or near as strong as it is at the moment.
No, and I do wonder, maybe ORTHROS GRIT has been able to go back and watch the matches from FAV, and they've probably picked up 1 or 2 things on the bank attack. Again, for the stats that we have not seen ORTHROS GRIT play this. Doesn't mean they're not prepping for it, doesn't mean that they haven't counter-stratted, but certainly this is looking the goods. And FAV have just had no response. The first round looked good, 2 versus 4, and it crumbled. And then from there, it's only gone from bad to worse. We're now going to see the Glass being brought in for number 2, and I'm sure this may well actually have decent dividends. You think about where he can play from, the damage he can do, especially if he has gone undetected. I don't know if there was a 6 pick or not. I wasn't able to see that. So regardless, it's a bit more of an interesting lineup here for FAV this time around. There's no ace that they've brought to support with those opening, the hard breach devices. And I do wonder if Choppy will use those kind of impacts to potentially deny the exothermic charges. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, could definitely be the play. Finker finally getting a bit of play. I swear we didn't see much Finker yesterday, which is quite surprising, quite popular in the current meta. Elsewhere, top square being opened up so that exothermic won't be denied, at least on the northern wall. Glaz in play as well here from number 2 on the attack for FAV Gaming. We'll have to see just how that's going to be implemented into the lineup here. Could be used to hold long angles, maybe over towards lobby, even square if top control is obtained. Definitely some nice long angles that could be played from that position. And it looks like number 2 is actually currently going for a play on that side of the map. But again, much like last time for FAV, it's split. We have players over towards lobby, and we have players over towards square. They need to commit to one or the other and actually start pulling it off, because at the moment, yes, they're doing a little bit of groundwork, but it's not enough to really make ORTHROS GRIT sweat too much. They are once again just chilling in sight now. Oh, there's the Glaz in play. Does get a pick, headshot on the board there, taking down a Stroller, but trades elsewhere mean that ORTHROS GRIT are still at the advantage.
There's no smokes left either. So the Glaz effect won't be able to kind of hide behind those smokes. They'll have to try and play for the long angles. Really great Argus cam. Afro didn't see him. There's a player in Tellers now. The ping comes in. The yellow ping, there's got to be either an Argus cam or a drone directly on the position of E-Board. Fortunately enough, that saves Afro's life and maybe might just give FAV the up in this round.
Leaves 35 seconds to go, and if they have more information in towards site, it could make things quite interesting. But FAV, yes, they've done the groundwork elsewhere, but it looks like now they're going to be forced up main stairs. Taipon might be able to go for a play in Janitor, but neither of these players, or none of these three players, have that diffuser in hand.
Two trying to lead the charge here, but they're going to be careful. They're going to find the trades. Oh, choppy. Siru goes down. Now Mal has to hold on. Two quick headshots. Taipon sticks the diffuser, doesn't have another choice. Can he get it out in time? What is the decision here? How does Taipon play this? Does he go out onto the rappel? Oh, 3 versus 1. This would be absolutely gnarly if they can pick up all 3 members. Taipon now getting a little bit more aggressive. This could be a huge clutch, all things considered.
Taipon just playing so patiently. That timer ticking down. Siru not going to be revived. Mao needs to find another big kill. Hits the kit to bait out Taipon, who does move over towards front desk, but it's going to come down to the wire. 15 seconds remaining, fakes it once more, going to swing wide. Does he get the kill? He does. He'll get back onto the kit, and Mao, an absolutely huge round there for ORTHROS GRIT to maintain this perfect score thus far.
Defenders win.
Kind of when you think about it, the 1v3. I mean, that's absolutely huge from Mal. Hits the massive shot onto the player coming up main stairs and then continues to be aggressive, fighting Taipon, ensuring that he's in the better of the 2 places. Castle Barricade comes into full effect there, obviously forcing him through the rotate hole. You don't have as much room to move when you're trying to kind of sneak behind that B chassis. And well, now we really are starting to tell the storyline here. ORTHROS GRIT, 5 on the trot, looking real damn good. And FAV are scrambling on bank. Now, again, guys, we just want to make sure we make that very clear comment that we are heading to Chalet next, which is FAV's map pick. Regardless, though, you don't want to let this one go for free. You want to ensure that at the very least you're taking something on the tail end of this match, because a 5-1 first half, a 6-0 first half, just absolutely devastating for the mental.
Yeah, and it's always one thing to look at a scoreline and say, you know, let's just use this game for an instance, right? That ORTHROS GRIT are just absolutely dominating their opponents, or, you know, maybe ORTHROS GRIT are getting a little bit lucky and getting, you know, 50-50 rounds across the line. But in reality, that last round where Mao went big, that's the only time so far where ORTHROS GRIT have had to genuinely rely on a huge clutch. Yes, there was the 2v4 earlier on, but not quite to that same extent. Outside of that, those 2 rounds, the other 3, so the majority of their wins have just been comprehensive. And FAV's macro game and their overall overarching plan, their rotations, etc., have honestly just not looked very good. So it is a little bit concerning. Maybe, though, this is just because it's not FAV's map pick. Maybe they weren't necessarily expecting to go here. They haven't prepared this map all that much, but I mean, we looked at the stats we mentioned earlier. It's not a bad map for them. So I don't know how much we want to take away from this result so far, but it does look like ORTHROS GRIT have come to show up. And again, that overarching storyline for them is they are fighting for a potential spot at the Japan League promos. They need to win this game, then take down Gyoigun in the next game. So, I mean, if they can kickstart their campaign with a big map win here on Bank, a 5-1 half, a 6-0 half even would be absolutely huge for them and be a really big confidence builder heading into the rest of the tournament.
And it's something we talk about quite often is, you know, the differences, comparatively in terms of storylines, you think about what ORTHROS GRIT are fighting for versus what FAV are fighting for, and ORTHROS definitely have a lot more kind of in that tank, a lot more that they need to try and claw out of this game. They can't afford to go down to FAV. Not if they want to be in the Japan League for 2022. Number 2 First player of contact here. V-Bort has been incredible for ORTHROS Grit here in this first half. Things slow down here for FAV. I don't mind this. Don't get overzealous. Don't get over ego. Just take your time. You've got plenty to work with. Minute 30 though, and really it starts to dwindle. It truly does.
Yeah, and it's much like a lot of these other attacks, right? Yes, you've done the easy work. You've gotten the map control elsewhere, but ORTHROS GRIT weren't really holding it. So this is where things start to get a little bit more challenging, and FAV actually need to clear out key positions. Talos is still occupied. Archives is still occupied. Open area hasn't been dislodged from Vert. So there's so much that still needs to be done here. With 60 seconds to go here, I think FAV Gaming, once again, are probably going to struggle in this round.
Ace roller. Sticking toward Talos V-Board. This could be huge. Can he find the outside? We can see the outline, obviously, but... Oh, what's going on there? Afro gets the free kill. Ace Roller doesn't get the intel, but V-Bort finds the vertical from through the hatch. That's the ace down. Sorry, the 0 down, in fact, as Choppy finds a kill on the Lugator. It's quick trades, and just like that, FAV Gaming only have 2 players. 1 player! No players!
ORTHROS GRIT with a perfect 6-0 half here on the bank defense. They are looking damn good. FAV have been left scrambling. That's 4 rounds in that half where they did decent groundwork but could not convert. And that last one, I think, was just another great example, right? They spent a minute and a half, up to maybe even 2 minutes. They had above control. I mean, that's great. But they didn't really do anything meaningful from there. ORTHROS did a great job in preventing Talos from being exposed. We had V-Vort down below on the Vert finding kills. Choppy elsewhere, he was the next line of defense inside of Archives. He was doing God's work as well. And then FAV were kind of just left like, oh, okay, let's drop the hatch, I guess. We haven't really got many other options left. And unfortunately, they couldn't even get in a position to stick that diffuser. So a very, very concerning half for FAV, but ORTHROS GRIT doing a fantastic job.
That they are. Now we get to see what they're like on their attack. I mean, maybe we might only get to see 1 round. That's a gnarly little cam for the Evil Eye. I tell you what, Type 1, love that in the back pocket. But yeah, I do foresee that this could just be done and dusted. I mean, ORTHROS GRIT have shown us enough on that first half. As you said, nothing was really, outside of the 1v3 clutch from Mal, nothing was really, well, nothing came down the wire for ORTHROS GRIT. So I am quite curious to see how this one continues to pan out. Actually, no, sorry, there was the 2 versus 4 in the first round. So 2 out of the 6 rounds were somewhat pushed to their limit, somewhat tested. But outside of that, phase 2, the middle part of the round, between the first minute and the second minute, were phenomenal for this roster. Now they've got to show us, can they back it up on their attack? They've got 6 rounds to prove that. So they've got plenty of time to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, obviously, only 6 rounds into a potential best of 3, and there's absolutely nothing stopping FAV mounting a couple of rounds here, and of course, winning the next 2 maps and winning the series. But I think it just goes to show the talent here in Japan, right? ORTHROS GRIT are literally an open qualifier team, and they are taking it up against an APAC North roster who face, you know, huge teams like Cyclops at that tier 1 level, other big orgs like Damwon Kia, for example. So FAV Gaming, and they've been there for a while now, have gained a lot of experience. Whereas ORTHROS GRIT just simply have not. So to come out of the gate strong here, yes, they're map pick, but don't want to discount their efforts so far. They have played extremely, extremely well. They've shown great composure, and if they can tidy up here on the attack, I mean, I say tidy up, just I guess finish the job here on the attack, in which they have multiple chances to make mistakes if they need to, then it's going to be a very, very impressive result for them.
A much more measured and calculated approach from ORTHROS GRIT than maybe I anticipated on their attack. Bit by bit, they're taking portions of the map and suffocating FAV closer and closer onto the site. With that vertical control as well, I'd be shocked if we don't end up seeing an opening pick through the line. You've got Ace Roller, you've got Siru as well. Choppy's just dropped into the elevator next to number 2. He's going to be so careful right now.
Oh, yeah, he does. He's been taken down. Key difference here in the attack compared to FAV. They already have quick control inside of Talos, pressure being applied, picks being found. Now Mao, his next job, head into Archives, find control there, lock down the site. And this is so much better compared to what we saw from FAV. ORTHROS GRIT are well and truly in pole position to just close out this map.
This is phenomenal right now. Lugator, though. gives the opportunity back to FAV, and opening a door slightly ajar, shut in their face. Ace Roller finds the kill on a tight pond. Things are falling apart here for FAV. Not a single round on the board of Bank. And they have come out swinging. ORTHROS GRIT about to take a huge scalp here on the first map. Mal shuts things out. What a statement. You can also see what it means to them, because, I mean, that is a huge performance from ORTHROS GRIT versus a team that we expect quite a bit from, regardless of where they're sitting in APAC North right now. They are a team that can do damage, and they are not. They have been completely